You know, the lesser-known fact about the Willys Jeep is that it was never designed to be a combat vehicle. It was actually designed to be a light utility truck that could also be a reconnaissance car, a weapons platform, an ambulance, a generator, and, believe it or not, even a stove. The misconception is that the Jeep succeeded because it was tough. But honestly, it succeeded because it was just barely tough enough, and everything else was stripped away. The original July 1940 U.S. Army tender document spelled it out. Payload 660 pounds, weight under 1,300 pounds, four-wheel drive, and a flat hood tall enough to serve as a map table. The overlooked consequence of that minimalist philosophy is that the Jeep did not change how armies fought. Instead, it changed how armies thought about supply. Before the Jeep, moving a gun required a truck, a trailer, and a crew of 8. After the Jeep, 2 men could do it. And that reduction in logistical friction is why the Jeep outlasted every tank, plane, and ship from its own war. Let's start with an overlooked decision. The Army asked 135 companies to bid on the light reconnaissance vehicle. Only 2 responded seriously. One of them made toy cars. American Bantam had no engineering staff, so they hired a freelancer named Karl Probst, who designed the entire prototype in 18 hours without a salary. The Army gave the production contract to Willys and Ford anyway, because Bantam was just too small to build 600,000 vehicles. Bantam went bankrupt by 1944. As their bid letter, signed and time-stamped July 22, 1940, put it, "We have no production capacity to speak of, but we have the best design." The dry rye observation is that the Jeep's legendary engine, the Willys Go Devil, produced 60 horsepower because the Army asked for 40, and Willys knew they would lie. The 2 companies eventually built interchangeable parts, a logistical miracle that required Ford to abandon its own manufacturing methods and copy Willys exactly. Now, here is the human limit. The Jeep had no doors, no roof, no heater, and honestly, no suspension worth the name. Soldiers drove them through North African sandstorms, wearing goggles and greatcoats, their teeth chattering against the steering wheel. Drivers learned, sometimes the hard way, that the Jeep's light weight was actually a curse when landmines were involved. A 1944 medical study found that Jeep occupants suffered spinal compression fractures at 3 times the rate of truck crews. The Army never added seatbelts because commanders argued that soldiers needed to jump out quickly. But you know, the real reason was cost. In Italy, 1944, Jeep casualty types broke down like this: 42% blast injury from mines, 31% rollover, 19% small arms, and 8% other. Now, let's connect this to later doctrine. The Jeep's greatest legacy was not actually the Humvee. It was, instead, the entire concept of the lightly armored, highly mobile infantry. Every subsequent military light vehicle, the Russian UAZ, the British Land Rover, the German VW Iltis, traces its DNA directly to the MB's flat grille and stripped-down frame. The Humvee was a response to the Jeep's weakness, not its strength. Armies, decided that soldiers would rather be alive and heavy than dead and nimble. But here is the overlooked consequence of that shift. The Jeep's real value was never military. It was agricultural. After the war, Willys marketed the Jeep as the universal farm vehicle and sold 200,000 units in 3 years. Most of them never saw a battlefield again. The Jeep became the ancestor of every compact tractor, every off-road utility vehicle, every four-wheeler that suburban dads use to get the mail. The thing that killed the military Jeep was armor. The thing that saved the civilian Jeep was the opposite, the refusal to add anything unnecessary. That photograph is not heroic. It is not tactical. It's just four wheels and an engine, carrying exhausted men through a ruined continent, doing exactly what it was asked to do. The Jeep succeeded because it was designed to be just good enough. Not perfect, not luxurious, just capable of running when wet, turning when asked, and starting again in the morning. That is the lesson for anyone building anything under pressure. Simplicity is not a compromise. Simplicity is the strategy. 57,000 Jeeps built in 1944 alone. One engineer working 18 hours without pay, no roof, no regrets. Subscribe to War Machiner and share this if you value history that goes deeper. The best military vehicle ever made had no armor, no doors, and no intention of retiring.